Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thanks for being here tonight. This is going to be a short video to just go over the results of the Conservative Party of Canada leadership election. And so obviously Erin O'Toole won. And so we had Wyatt Claypool on the show last night, and we were going over the different candidates in the race, kind of their direction, their vision, and kind of their different various paths to victory. But as far as it actually unfolded, the first round was somewhat close. O'Toole got, a little over 31%. McKay got about 33.5%. So McKay was actually in the lead on the first round. Lewis came in third. And then we had Sloan come after in fourth. Sloan got a little over 14%. So, Wyatt and I were both, supporting Sloan and everything in that. But when we look at how it went to the second ballot, then O'Toole took the lead. And then O'Toole was actually able to take victory afterwards with total of 57% on the third ballot. So then, and that's it right there. So we had a 65% voter turnout within the party. So it is interesting how, you basically now have the next prime minister, as far as I see it, decided. But, 175,000 votes cast, a party of about 270,000 people in a country of close to 40 million people. So, it's an interesting thing to consider, definitely, for my own stance on this in terms of partisanship, because I haven't been a member of a party in a long time, but I can see the value in it. I mean, you do have a very disproportionate say in how this stuff goes. Like if you're one of the 1% or so of people that are actually a member of the party, you basically just voted for who's going to become the next prime minister, because of course Trudeau's got, 3 major scandals under his belt now. There's the whole scandal that's recently exploded. I don't think it's going to work out very well for him. We're talking $250 billion added to the debt as a result of the COVID pandemic and the response here. And, we've got basically a drama teacher who is a trust fund baby at the helm right now. And so, Erin O'Toole, he's the leader of the Conservative Party now. And of course, Wyatt and I were talking about him a little bit last night. And I think it's kind of funny how Erin O'Toole, he blocked Wyatt very quickly, just for a little bit of criticism. I think it's kind of funny how, the leader of the official opposition now, basically he's as liberal with the ban hammer as like a 15-year-old SJW. So that's kind of funny. But, like I said, this isn't going to be a very long video. I'll be back with a longer stream tomorrow night. We have Reason Vision here on Twitch. He says, I'm logged into YouTube so rarely. I'm glad I followed on Twitch. Well, yeah, no, I appreciate you being followed to me on Twitch. We're trying to get up to 50 followers right now to work towards the affiliate status. So we're almost 80% the way there. And Twitch is great. Twitch, actually, watching on Twitch helps me a lot more when you're watching live as opposed to YouTube, because Twitch actually rewards viewing metrics, whereas YouTube wants to scare away independent content creators and make it almost impossible for them to draw any sort of financial, compensation for their work. And so I like Twitch as a platform. And now I think that Twitch, by and large, is full of a bunch of communists. Political Twitch is a meme. They're a joke. Political Twitch is basically like BreadTube, essentially, like as if that's all of it. But you know, it is what it is. I'm here. I'm doing what I'm doing. We got the hawk gang. We're trying to slowly hawk pill the world, right? So it's going to take a long time. But, after the results were announced, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But let's keep in mind if John Bolton was running in the US in the Republican primary right now, he'd probably get about 14% too. And people could say, huh, your ideas aren't popular. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. And so that's why right now, being in the media, especially independent media at this point, is the best thing that you can do to help the cause of intervention, of national security, of the national interest, of protecting, and not only protecting, but promoting our civilization. Because if we don't, and we surrender ourselves to nihilism and moral relativism and defeatism and Western guilt, we will be destroyed because our enemies do not have those weaknesses. They don't feel ashamed. Vladimir Putin doesn't feel ashamed to be Russian. Xi Jinping doesn't feel ashamed to be a communist. They are proud of the dictatorial systems that they have created. Whereas we're over here in the West with the best system in the history of the world. And we're criticizing ourselves and saying, oh, that's problematic. The West is actually problematic, bro. Like, you don't understand, man. They have legal weed and there's no McDonald's in North Korea, so they're better than us. That kind of crap, right? So that's why I'm here. Somebody's got to bust through that narrative, cut through the air of cringe. That's what I'm doing. So if you want to get more insight into Canadian politics, if you want to kind of see what's going on, you can check out my friend Wyatt's publication, that he's a part of, National Telegraph. They do a lot of coverage on Canadian politics. And, I think it's disappointing because Derek Sloan, he really would have regained Canadian status as a proactive country in the world. Not just this, oh, okay, I guess we'll take in some refugees or whatever, but not do anything to stop refugees from being created in the first place. Derek Sloan actually wanted to make the world a better place. And he wasn't opposed to taking in refugees, by the way. But, he made the point that, yeah, these regimes, they're not our friends. And they're not the friends of humanity, and something needs to be done. So we need more leaders like that on both sides. I wish the Liberal Party was hawk-pilled too. Like, in a dream world, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party would not disagree on foreign policy. They would disagree on stuff like economics, social issues, that kind of stuff. But as far as the military is concerned, the national interests, they would both agree. Yeah, like human rights important. The West is important. NATO is important. Fighting the communists in China is important. Defending Europe against Russian aggression is important. Building a strong relationship with the United States is important. These would be non-controversial things. They wouldn't even be politicized. You'd have things that are politicized like, healthcare, abortion, tax rates, gun rights, that kind of stuff, like domestic issues. But when it comes to foreign policy, there really shouldn't be much of a debate around that because these things aren't complicated. This isn't like, oh, should we be friends with the dictators or should we not? So, oh man. Anyway, like I said, this was just going to be a shorter video. I'm pretty tired right now, but if anybody's got any questions, comments, or anything, regarding the leadership election or just anything in general, feel free to post them now. I know we got some people here tonight. It's a bit later than usual, so. I think one of the things that was disappointing too was that, Derek Sloan was the only candidate that would have definitively pulled Canada out of the Paris Agreement, Whereas with Erin O'Toole, as Wyatt was pointing out last night, Erin O'Toole actually wants to basically replicate the Liberals' carbon tax proposal, but he wants to brand it as like a conservative thing. So, oh, and Wyatt's here right now. Welcome, Wyatt. And of course, Wyatt, of course, has done a lot of work exposing the connection in the O'Toole campaign to the Muslim Brotherhood. And yeah, that's not a meme. That's not fake news. You can go and look into it. So. Wyatt says, I won't be dropping this, so Erin can expect I won't stop investigating. Yeah, see, that's the beautiful thing, is that Erin O'Toole can block Wyatt, but he can't stop Wyatt from, doing journalism, right? So I gotta say something. Like, yeah, I was planning on keeping this video under 15 minutes tonight, but I don't think that's going to be possible now because this reminded me of something. I am so sick of Muslim Brotherhood apologists. They are everywhere. And we've got Muslim Brotherhood apologists on the right, and we've got Muslim Brotherhood apologists on the left. And on Twitter today, there's been a little bit of controversy recently because, well, I actually started talking with Wasbapin. I'm not even sure exactly how you pronounce the guy's name. Wasbapin, it's all in caps. Wasbappin. That guy. You might have seen him. You might be familiar with some of his takes. Anyway, he's very anti-Russia, just like I am. And he's also pro-nukes, just like I am. So people have compared me to him in the past and everything. So I started talking with him. And guess what? The guy's a fan of Turkey, but not just the country Turkey. He's a fan of Erdogan. And he's a fan of the Muslim Brotherhood. Literally the Muslim Brotherhood. And you're like, wait. Like, there are a lot of people that are fans of the Muslim Brotherhood. This guy's obviously like on the left. He's a far left kind of guy, but he's a pro-war leftist, which is pretty rare. And so I thought it would have been interesting to talk with him. Well, he's tweeting out drama and everything, and he retweeted a tweet of mine, and he's got about 3,000 followers or whatever, but he retweeted a tweet of mine in which I was saying how Derek Sloan is the only candidate, and this is true. Derek Sloan was the only candidate running in the Conservative Party, so the only candidate in Canada running, that would have made it a priority to classify the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. That seems like a no-brainer. Like, you would think that was something that, like, regardless of whether you're like NDP, Liberal, Conservative, Bloc, it's like they are a terrorist organization. That's not, like, again, that shouldn't be a politicized issue. Like, oh, what? We're going to have a debate where, like, oh, one side says we should classify them as terrorists, and the other side says, oh, they're swaggy. It's like, no, look into them. Oh man, this is why I call it the era of cringe. Like, really, we're gonna have a conversation about whether the Muslim Brotherhood is chill. What? Oh man. So back to the little bit of the drama on YouTube, or not YouTube, but maybe on YouTube in the future if Wasbapin ever comes on my show. I did give him the offer, and the offer still stands, even though we've got beef. We got big beef now. He's still welcome to come on my show. So that would be an interesting conversation, because I'm like, oh, you hate Assad, I hate Assad. And that's something that he posts about a lot, is how much he absolutely despises the Assad regime. But then he's against Israel, and he's pro-Turkey, he's pro-Muslim Brotherhood, and he's pro-Sunni Islamism. And you're like, wait, what? But he's also anti-white, so I'm white, and I'm like, dude, that's kind of cringe. He literally identifies as anti-white action, like with a K. So I guess he's like one of those Antifa dudes. And he calls everybody fascist. Like, he calls Putin fascist, which is true. He calls a lot of people fascists. But he's basically anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli. He's pro-Sunni Islamism, pro-Muslim Brotherhood. And unlike me, where I've said before, if there's a war with Russia, yeah, you use nukes, right? But the whole point is to liberate Russia at the end of the day. It's to liberate the world. For him, that's not even the objective. Wes Bappin, unironically, is actually pro-genocide. He just wants to kill Slavs. Like, for him, they're bad because they're Slavs. So now this is just going off of what I've seen, my brief sort of intro to their little community. But they're a bunch of democratic socialist leftists, SJWs, that mostly live in the West, that hate Assad, hate Russia, but love Turkey, the Muslim Brotherhood, and hate Israel. And you're like, wait, what a clown show. Wes Bappin. I also asked him, I'm like, what does Wes Bappin mean? And he told me, he's like, that's paywall content. And I'm like, I'm not paying for that. You do you. I don't really care that much. But Wes Bappin. It's like, it sounds kind of like what's boppin'. Like, I mean, what a goofball. But anyway, so so he's pro Muslim Brotherhood. So this kind of gets back to my point, is that there are a lot of people on the left and there's some people on the right too that are cool with them. You're like, what the hell is happening? Like, what? Oh man. So we'll get back to the comments, but like, I just want to make this very clear right now, because like, this shouldn't need to be made clear. You would think that this would just be like a given, but this channel is anti-Muslim Brotherhood. Just so that, just putting that out there. So. Wyatt says, a lot more people than just me. We will be making a lot more inquiries into the nonsense Erin tolerates, even if he tries to shut us up. Well, I wish you the best with that, Wyatt. And, hold O'Toole to the fire right here, because I think he's going to be the next prime minister. So it's important to keep him in check. That's why we need journalists. So we got Anthony Roberto. He says conservatives need more internal change. Well, Erin O'Toole, he's not the most sort of conservative in terms of classically conservative people in Canada. He's he's a bit more of a moderate, not as hawkish or anything. I wish that they were more like John Bolton. So need some change in that respect. But we got Reason Vision. He says, the aggressive agenda, point 3, defend the Muslims, create a false equivalence with Christianity, and muddy the waters. Yeah, that's part of it for sure. That's part of it. I mean, just like, imagine being the leader of the Conservative Party and being chill with the Muslim Brotherhood. That's cringe, bro. So that's all I got to say here. And like, you can tell me, you're like, oh, well, Derek Sloan got 14% of the vote, so you were rebuked. It's like, yeah, I call it the era of cringe for a reason. I'm trying to change that. I want it to be the case so that hawks of all stripes are the only people that can get elected. And then we can actually have a debate about social issues or a debate about economics or whatever. Whereas right now, we have, a few people who say, oh, we should do something about the problems in the world. And then the rest of the people who want to stick their head in the sand and pretend the world doesn't exist and virtue signal, but we're bad, bro, and make us out to be evil. No, I'm not down with that. We got to hawk pill people. So we got Philip Holmgren, the base talk here. He says, the behavior and the objectives of the regime are not going to change, and therefore the only solution is to change the regime itself. Oh, I love that. Oh, that is good. That's a classic. That's an absolute classic right there. Oh man. That is, yeah, no, that is neocon pill to the core right there. Not going to change. I talk about this all the time with like North Korea, how people try to say, oh, well, you could foment a revolution or the people could rise up. It's like, no, it's never going to happen. that regime will continue in its current motion unless acted upon by an external force, right? It's like one of Newton's laws, except applied in international relations, neocon laws. So, yeah, no, John Bolton is a very hot-pilled guy. So, I'm still reading his book. I'm a very slow reader because I'm very busy. I work all the time and I do these streams for you all. So it takes me a long time to get through books, but I will have a book review when I'm finished. So stay tuned for that. Olympian God is here. He says, dude, Kevin, just take a break from Twitter. I guarantee you'll be happier. Possibly, but you gotta have a presence on Twitter. So a number of people told me they're like, dude, you should take a break from it or whatever. It's like, yeah, not really. Not really a good time to take a break from it, honestly. So it's kind of part and parcel with doing this. So kind of comes with the territory. I do find it funny though how a special little communist hater of mine, he actually criticized me and some of my friends for having our Twitter accounts. He was like, all these political YouTubers, they all have their Twitter accounts. By the way, this is a guy who got blocked from Twitter, or not blocked from Twitter, but like actually banned from Twitter, right? Butt hurt, and you're like, and you're listening to this, and you're like, wait, how is that a criticism? It's like saying like, look at these truck drivers here with their semi trucks. What a bunch of clowns. Or like, oh, look at these doctors here with their doctors' offices. What's going on? Or like, hey, what's up with these mechanics and their wrenches? Like, what's up with that? It's like, yeah. Oh, what's up with these political YouTubers and their Twitter accounts? It's like, yeah, we have Twitter accounts. You want to be a political streamer, you need to be on Twitter. What a goofball. Oh man, you gotta love the communists though. They're just, oh man, they are a special cavalcade of cringe. So we got Reason Vision. He says, you're anti-Islamic terrorism, you monster. Why did you never tell us? Wyatt says, also the IRA is cringe. They support terrorism abroad, not just in Northern Ireland. Oh, for sure. They were cozy with Gaddafi. Not even making that up. You can look into it. Literally cozy with Gaddafi. And then people try to paint Gaddafi as like, oh, he just minded his own business, but then the West came for him because like oil or money or whatever. It's like, no, the guy literally blew up a passenger jet over the United Kingdom and killed a ton of Westerners. So, oh, but his sovereignty, bro? Yeah, what about the UK's sovereignty, bro? So yeah, no, Gaddafi deserved to die. That was an intervention that I support. That intervention was justified. Now the problem is nobody stayed the course because, oh, look who led it. Bunch of socialists in France and Obama in the United States. Obama, right, as I call him. What a feckless dude, totally lacking in vision. Not to mention he got cucked by Putin in Syria. How pathetic is that? Dude literally draws a red line in the sand and says to Assad, he's like, look, we're not going to take you out right now. You're lucky, but you're lucky I'm weak. But here's the deal, dude. You better not gas any civilians because if you do, that's a red line and we'll have to take you out. And then Assad's like, okay, that's cool, bro. I'm going to gas some civilians. And he does. And then Obama's like, oh, what do I do now? And you're like, what do you mean? What do you do now? And now I'm just, this is just conjecture as to what went down in the Situation Room. But my guess was Obama was probably like, shoot, he called our bluff. You're like, why should that be a bluff? Because like if I'm in charge and I tell a tin pot despot, hey, look, if you gas people, we're going to bomb the crap out of you. That's not going to be a bluff. Like, and also I'm not going to tell them that because they're going to get bombed anyway. Like, what? Uh, Assad should have been taken out in 2011. Oh, imagine John McCain won. Just imagine John McCain won in 2011. Or not in 2011, but 2008. Assad would have been done right away. Syria would be a free country for the last 6 or 7 years. There would have been no refugee crisis. The people of Syria would be free and safe and prosperous in their own country. I'm so sick of the dehumanization of the refugees, by the way, and this attempt by the alt right to paint them as like part of like some conspiracy or whatever. That they just want to come to Europe and this kind of stuff. It's like, no, nobody wants to leave their house to go and risk their lives, and some of them die trying to get to Europe so that they can be, you know, looked at with contempt by a ton of people, and they're not in their home. Like, but these people are so dumb that they think that what the refugees are happy that they are forced to flee their home country. Like, again, what happened to this whole sovereignty thing? Like, if we want to talk about national self-determination and sovereignty, well, the people of Syria, they want to have their own sovereign country, and they don't want to have to deal with Assad killing them. And Assad's like, well, you either keep me around or we burn the country to the ground. And for the last 9 years, he's burned the country to the ground. But back to what I was saying about Obama. Obama's like, oh, yeah, well, what do we do now? Shoot, I didn't think he was going to call my bluff. It's like, it should not have been a bluff in the first place. Obama was a weak president. Obama was a disgrace. And then what happened? So then Putin steps in and he's like, got an opportunity here to cuck the West once again. And what does he do? He actually steps in and says, we made a deal. Assad told me he'll get rid of the chemical weapons, so it's all good, bro. And Obama's like, okay, thanks. You took a lot of pressure off me. The alt-right will talk about how like Putin cucks the West and stuff, and they'll say, oh, look, Putin's badass. Russia's badass. And I look at it, I'm like, yeah, Putin cucked the West. We should probably get on that and like get leaders that are badass here, whereas they side with the enemy. I'm like, yeah, Obama was weak. You're right to note that Obama was weak there. That doesn't make the West bad. That means that we got a dud as a leader, but they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They want to say, we're done with the West. Let's just become fifth columns. Let's just literally become treasonous and go and shill for the enemy that's got nukes pointed at my city. And the irony of it, of course, is that they call everybody else cucks. It's like, yeah, but it's hard to think of a more cuck thing to do than shill for Putin from basically your basement when Putin's got nukes pointed at the city your basement is in. Like, you're shilling for a guy who wants to nuke you, who practices. He gets his submarine crews to practice nuking your city every week. He's not your friend. Like, oh man, so that's part of the era of cringe, right? So, and sure, you can talk about how back in the old Cold War there were communists in America too that would shill for the Soviets, but they were tiny. Hardly anybody was out there being like, oh yeah, well, the Soviets are better than us or whatever. That changed. The KGB was really effective at infiltrating universities and that kind of stuff during the Vietnam War to foment basically the culture of war bad, so that America surrendered in Vietnam essentially and pulled out. That was a smart thing for the KGB to do, and the West couldn't do that to the Soviets because the Soviets had a closed society. So I like this one, Derek. 8% more than Chang Sloan. Yep. We got Whitey says Libya gave the IRA weapons. Absolutely. Yeah, and then we got Anthony Roberto here. He says, imagine standing the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh yeah, for sure. And I tweeted at one of Wes Bappin's gang, and I was like, imagine unironically simping for the Muslim Brotherhood. It's just amazing. So We got we got Hock'em Squawk'em Robots. He says Reese better be on this week. We'll see. Reese is a busy hawk, so Jib Hogan asks, "Hey Kevin, what do you think about Erin O'Toole?" Well, I think he's probably going to be the next prime minister. I think, despite everything, he'll be probably a lot better than Justin Trudeau. So, Reason Vision says, "What's your opinion on McCarthy?" Are we talking about Joe McCarthy? Like which McCarthy? Pretty sure we're talking about Joe McCarthy, but just for clarification here, because if we're talking about Joe McCarthy, that's a bit spicy. A lot of people don't really like my take on Joe McCarthy. I'll see if I got the meme loaded up. I did have a McCarthy meme I made a long time ago. I'll see if I can find it. No, I don't have it loaded up in my meme inventory here, but it is available on my meme page, Liberal Hawk Memes for Moral Universalist Teens. Yeah, Joseph McCarthy. Yeah, so basically I made the meme of him and it's just him like wagging his finger and it says STFU communist. Uh I'm a fan of that meme. I made it myself, right? So even if I do say so myself, but I got a big ego, so there's that. Basically, Joe McCarthy, did he go after people that turned out to not actually be communists? Yes. Yes. Mistakes happen. But people will say it was an irrational paranoia of communism. No, there's no such thing as an irrational paranoia of communism. Communism is something that, if you know about communism, if you weren't paranoid about it, you would be irrational. Communists killed well over 150 million people in the last century. That should probably scare you, make you a little bit annoyed, right? You would, in fact, if somebody said to you, "Hey, look, man, there's this disease out there, right? And if you catch it, if it infests your country, you have a very high likelihood of dying." And then you turn around and said, "Oh shoot, man, that's scary, bro." But then somebody said to you, they're like, irrational paranoia, man. You're like, wait, what? You just told me it was very deadly. How's that irrational? Well, there you go. How is it irrational to be, quote unquote, paranoid of the disease of communism, the virus of communism? Like I said, there's something wrong with you if you're not worried about communism. And we're talking about right now. Imagine back then. So the Soviets get to point, at that point, we're talking about early 1950s and stuff. We're talking about, 1,500 to 2,000 nuclear weapons at the United States of America and her allies. And they're trying to take over the world. They know America is the enemy. There could be a war any moment. They want to destroy America from within, from without, etc. Right? They've got spies in America. They've had spies at the Manhattan Project all those years. There were literally spies. There were literally communist spies like Klaus Fuchs at Los Alamos, at the Manhattan Project research facilities that passed along all of the information about the atomic bomb to the NKVD, later the KGB, to Stalin. And it, of course, was found out later. There was the whole thing with the Rosenbergs, all that kind of stuff. So there were communists within. The enemy was within. So to say that Joe McCarthy was irrational to want to weed out communists, no, you can say he made mistakes. He didn't get the right people in certain cases. That's fair. But you can't say it wasn't an irrational thing to do. It was very rational to try to weed out fifth columns. So I'll see if I can find that meme. I'll upload it. So get that for you, and then we'll wrap up the stream. So thanks for being here tonight, everybody. Like I said, I know it's late, so but let's see. Like I got like 700 memes on here, so it takes a while to scroll through and try to find all the memes. So, by the way, go and like Liberal Hawk Memes for Moral Universalist Teens on Facebook if you haven't done so yet. Got a lot of rare memes over there. So, and we're coming up on 2,500 followers or 2,500 likes right now. Coming up on about 2,600 followers. So that's cool. And it's all hawk pilled, very hawkish stuff. So. Yeah, because I made a lot of those kinds of memes, like the STFU X ideology kind of thing. Like I got the ones with got one with Hillary Clinton, got one with Nikki Haley, got one with John Bolton, got one with Dick Cheney. I didn't make the Dick Cheney one though, but that one is based. I found that one on Neocon NWO over on Reddit. Where's the McCarthy one though? Let's see. Take a look. Oh, I found it. There we go. We'll upload this. Yeah, we'll upload this to the stream. So, yeah, Jib Hogan says Vosh made a video and he said Lenin advocated for Joe Biden. Yeah, I might have to do a video just on this alone because the MAGA crowd, the hardcore Trump supporters, they're right now trying to brand Joe Biden as like a communist, that communists back Joe Biden, and that if you vote for Joe Biden, you're going to get communism, right? So that's obviously BS. Joe Biden is a blue dog Democrat, so he's left of center in the American spectrum. He's a pretty progressive guy, but he's also very open to working with the other side. He's able to get deals done, make compromises. He's not radical, and him and Bernie don't really get along. So that's kind of the reality of the situation. And of course, Joe Biden in the 1990s was very hawkish and very based. And of course, he supported the Iraq War in 2003. So not a communist. But then we have the communists. And what did the communists say? Lenin would have voted for Biden. Marx would have voted for Biden. That's what Vosh was saying the other day. I saw part of the video. So MAGA guys and Vosh agree with each other. Like, think about that. The most ardent supporter of Donald Trump that tells you that if you choose Joe Biden, you're going to get communism. And then Vosh, who's a communist, they basically agree with each other. Hey, man, horseshoe theory. People say it's a meme. I mean, you can figure it out for yourself. I mean, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I just got to say that. Wow, man. Vosh, he's a goofball. He's a goofball. So we got the meme here. I'll just remove the Chiron so you can take a look at the meme. This is the one that I made of Joe McCarthy. That one triggered a lot of people. This one's kind of spicy because a lot of people out there, they don't really like this guy very much, Joe McCarthy. Because, you know, like I said, he made some mistakes. He got some of the wrong people, etc., right? But again, the worst thing that happened under McCarthyism was you lost your career for being accused of being a communist. You know what happened to people that were accused of being a capitalist in the Soviet Union? You didn't just lose your career. You lost your life, and your family probably also starved or went to the gulag. So a little bit of a difference there. So when people say, oh, but America did McCarthyism, so it's kind of like the Soviet Union. No, it's not like the Soviet Union at all. The worst mistakes in the McCarthyist weeding out of fifth columns were nothing compared to the Great Terror. Like, it's not even close. One killed, you know, directly about 800, 900,000 people in a year and a half, 2 years. The other, some people lost their very high-paying jobs in Hollywood. Boo-hoo. Because people thought that they were communists. Yeah, how about you, like, how about this? How about there might be a reason why sometimes people might be suspected of being a communist. Like, for example, if you went to Vosh would tell you he's a communist. But like, let's say that you had like a big fan of Vosh, and then you asked him, like, are you a communist? And he was like, no, I'm a market socialist. You'd be like, yeah, we're suspecting you of being a communist. That's not irrational. It's like if you don't want to be suspected of being a communist, don't let people suspect, like, don't make people suspect that you're a communist. It's kind of my point. So, but I'm a bit old school when it comes to that. So again, keep in mind the context. The Soviet Union's got almost 2,000 nukes pointed at you at that point. They want to wipe you off the face of the earth. They're talking about burying you, your entire civilization and way of life. So how is it irrational to try to get rid of them within your own borders? That seems like the most logical thing there is. It was the Cold War. Like, that's what happens. And like I said, the Soviets killed millions in that process of killing suspected capitalists. Having hearings for suspected communists, that's nothing. So Nicholas says Bush's foreign policy was still flawed, Saddam's insanity notwithstanding. Obama's problem was that he overcompensated. Well, I take Bush any day over Obama. That's just me. So, got Reason Vision here. He says an irrational paranoia of communism is like an irrational paranoia of Hitler, like back in like 1942. Oh, really? What's irrational about it? Oh, he thinks that Hitler's gonna like invade and stuff. Well, has Hitler invaded? Oh yeah, he's invaded like all of Europe basically, except for like Switzerland because they're cool with him and they like invest his money and stuff. And you're like, oh, so like, how is that irrational? They're like, well, he's paranoid. It's a red scare, bro, or it's a Nazi scare, bro. It's like, yeah, should probably be scared of Nazis in 1942. Probably be scared of communists in the 1950s. So. Hawkum Squawkum Robot says, did you hear Richard Spencer is voting for Biden? I did not hear about that. That almost sounds like fake news. Yeah, that sounds like fake news, but could be true. He says conservatives and progressives are using this to hurt him, obviously. Like, I would have thought that Richard Spencer would have voted for, like, written in somebody that was far more to the right than Trump, because obviously he doesn't like how pro-Israel Donald Trump is. So yeah, and of course Reason Vision says like Lenin would have shot both Trump and Biden. Yeah, this idea that like if Biden was around and like, you know, and Lenin was there, that Lenin would have been chill with Biden. That sounds like something that Ben Garrison would say. Like, honestly, Vosh and Ben Garrison sound like the same guy because, like, Ben Garrison will draw a comic showing, like, the Democrats and it's like communism. And you're like, okay, that's kind of hyperbolic. That's kind of hysterical. There are like a couple communists in the Democratic Party. Most of them are like centrist, center left, that kind of thing. Social Democrats to blue dogs is kind of the spectrum. But then you have the communists, and what do they say? Oh yeah, Joe Biden, let's vote for him. And you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So brainlets love horseshoes. It's like, well, yeah, one of my friends, Elias, he has a saying I really got a kick out of. He says, you know, really shoes my horse. And I like that. That's a good one. That's a classic. So got W.R. Winter. McCarthy is bad because McCarthyism is bad because anti-communism is bad. But I think for many people, anti-communism is tainted by McCarthyism. Like the lesson of McCarthyism wasn't that witch hunts were bad, it's that anti-communism uniquely produces witch hunts, law. Well, no, okay, this is controversial. Witch hunts aren't bad. They've got 2,000 nukes pointed at you. You know that there have been spies that leaked nuclear secrets to the Soviets that are working against you from within. Like, there were witches in the Cold War trying to undermine America. So you want to go and hunt them. So, like, people have called me a McCarthyite before. I'm like, that's not the insult you think it is. So, yeah, but like I said about how anti-communism is tainted by McCarthyism, it's like, yeah, some like actors lost their job offers for like high-paying gigs. Boo-hoo, cry me a river. Guess what? Anti-capitalism in the Soviet Union, what's that? That was tainted by the Great Terror. How many people did they kill? Close to 1 million people. How many people did McCarthyism kill? Look it up. Compare the two. It's not even close. So I really don't like these false equivalences that are out there in the discourse. I'm not saying that you're doing that. It's just a lot of people treat McCarthy and Stalin as if they were like the same person. Like, Stalin did show trials and McCarthy had some hearings. It's like, yeah, Stalin killed, tens of millions of people. I mean, hell, he killed 10 million people in the early 1930s just in Ukraine. Just in Ukraine. The Holodomor. You can look it up. Did McCarthy kill 10 million people? Did McCarthy kill 1 million people? No. So, Ariel Suarez says, sorry, Kevin, but that sounds like whataboutism. Just because it is worse on the other side doesn't mean we can't criticize things here at home. Yeah, but I'm not going to divorce myself from the context of the era. They've got 2,000 nukes pointed at you. You know that by now that the Soviets got the bomb because Klaus Fuchs and some others passed them the secrets at Los Alamos. You know that there are spies. You know that the KGB, the NKVD, they've infiltrated America. You know that there's communist sympathizers in America. It's life or death. Like the Cold War, you can't, if you tried to wage the Cold War 100% clean, never got your hands dirty, guess what? You would have lost the Cold War. You would have been buried. So yeah, you can call me, you can say it's whataboutism. I don't care. I'm an anti-communist. So that's me. So we can condemn the mistakes, sure, and say that was bad, and we can rehabilitate the legacy of certain people that weren't communists. But if we could go back and do it again, I would have done the same thing, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. But you do know there are spies and they've got 2,000 nukes pointed at you. And this is an existential battle for the future of humanity. Are we going to live in freedom, or are we going to live under tyranny? And yeah, you gotta crack a few eggs to get it done. So. But yeah, WR Winter says, agree 100%, no comparison. So we're going to wrap up the stream now. So if you would be so kind, I would appreciate it if you would like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me over on Twitch. YouTube doesn't always send people notifications these days when I'm going live. I wonder why, right? So if you go over on Twitch, you'll see when I'm live. Additionally, you can support me on PayPal. I got my PayPal link in the description below if you want to send your hawk a tip. And if you would, if you consider it, I would definitely appreciate it if you would support me on a monthly basis over on Patreon. Once we hit $100 a month, I'll begin rolling out daily pre-recorded videos in addition to these live streams daily. So that's 2 videos a day instead of 1. And, we're already almost 2/3 the way there. So, about another $36 a month to go. So every dollar matters. So thanks to the existing patrons. Thanks to the audience tonight. We had some good questions and comments as usual. And yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, would have been better if Sloan had won. But, you win some, you lose some. We got a lot of work to do. And media is really where that needs to happen, because we need to change the discourse. We need to change people's minds before we can think about, winning elections big time, all the time, that kind of thing. So it's about the hawk pill. So thank you for being here tonight, everybody. I will be back here tomorrow. Have a good night. Peace.